Diablo 4 devs respond to criticism about weak Barbarian and repetitive dungeons.
Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include the latest Diablo 4 news, including devs speaking out on beta complaints, the D4 beta melting video cards, also Counter-Strike 2 being revealed, and more gaming news. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below. But right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. But before we dive into the news, allow me to introduce you folks to Everlegion, a game that may just scratch that itch of casual fun you're looking for. Everlegion is a 3D collecting idle RPG with more than 100 heroes across 7 different factions to collect. I got a weakness for these kinds of games. They're my guilty pleasure. It hits that right balance of casual fun and RPG progression and figuring out the best team compositions.
Is this a mobile game?
Heroes into tier lists of power. It's something you can just pop up when you got a minute here and there throughout the day, whether you're waiting on a YouTube ad to finish, or the microwave to beep, or a friend to finish telling you a really boring story. You build a team of heroes, send them into dungeons, you know the drill. They've got great 3D character models with real personality to them in their animations. You can play it super casually, it doesn't need a lot of your time. It's
there
nice
you go,
to
chat.
When you're too tired
There's
to
a
play
new
your
game to
main
play.
PC game and just want to relax. It's pretty free to play friendly, and they're always updating the game, adding new heroes. If you complete the tutorial, you get 25 free summons. Here, let's see what we get with these bulls.
Yeah, I think it's a mobile game.
Garzak? That's Garzak. That's like an
I mean, the
S tier hero
characters
right
look pretty sweet, though, to be
My favorite hero
honest.
that I found is this guy here.
I don't like mobile games.
He's a support that does.
If I ever play mobile games, I'm gonna be honest, guys. I download them on Game Loop on my PC and play them. I fucking hate mobile games on my phone. I don't like this shit. I don't like touching my screen to make things move. I'd rather use a controller or a keyboard.
Does big heals while simultaneously applying damage over time to enemies in an area, and his ultimate makes an ally unkillable for 10 seconds while giving them a huge attack boost. He's just a beast of a support. The game has a faction system where factions can get bonuses against other factions, so elves get a 25% damage boost against undead, humans against orcs, etc. So join me in Everlegion and support the channel. It's always fun to get a guild going in these. Click the link to download the game or scan the QR code and use my exclusive gift code ELRYKER to get 10 free hero draws. But it'll only work for the first 100 people who redeem it, so first come, first serve. We'll kick things off with the Diablo news. Diablo 4's open beta weekend is currently ongoing. Free for everyone,
which we've already played
until Monday,
so this was a few days ago.
Pacific. You can find me streaming on Twitch later this afternoon. Yesterday I streamed on YouTube. There should be a VOD up there of some Necromancer gameplay. I'll be streaming on YouTube tomorrow as well. I have 3 VODs up from last week where I streamed Barbarian, Rogue, and Sorceress, and last week's early access beta test kicked off on Friday with some pretty massive queues. But Blizzard got the queue situation under control by Saturday. I was really surprised. I expected Saturday to be 10 times worse since everyone would be off work, whereas on Friday was really mostly the Euros at the start, the European players who were slamming the servers, and a lot of the NA guys only came on later on. With everyone being able to slam the servers at the same time, I thought, forget about it, 2-hour queues, but they apparently put out about 6 hot fixes that really improved the queue situation. I had to wait an hour on Friday before I got in game on Saturday. It was 1 minute. And
Right, yeah, so if anybody played the early access to the beta, like 2 weeks ago, you guys would know that the servers were fucking like 30-minute servers to an hour on queue to get into the fucking server and play. Whereas the open beta was, not to mention, let me go backtrack it here a minute, not to mention the fucking disconnects when you were playing the game. It was disconnecting like every 30 minutes to an hour when you were playing the game on the early access beta. So you kept getting kicked back to the fucking queue screen, or you'd have to restart the game, or it'd freeze on fucking loading into a dungeon or something. Whereas the open beta we played, we only had about minute queues, maybe 5 minutes tops on queues to get in. And I think the game only crashed on me once with trying to get into a dungeon, so it was much better. So these were definitely stress tests and actual technical test betas. They weren't just demos thrown out there, which I really enjoy, and a lot more companies need to do, to be honest, because let's face it, most of the time they say beta, anytime they say beta, usually it's just saying, here's our demo, play it, and then they don't do anything with it, and they just fucking throw it out as is.
Speaking of enemy.com, Diablo General Manager Rod Ferguson stressed that the beta is an actual beta, you know, intended for testing to make the final game better, not just some glorified demo that was meant to run perfectly and just serve as marketing and publicity. In fact, before this week's free open beta even began, Blizzard warned that we should expect queues, that they need to stress the servers and test the queue system so that everything will go smooth when the game actually launches.
Which is
now,
fine.
At the time of this recording, I haven't actually experienced the Friday queues, so a little bit of a weird time bubble happening right now. Maybe everything is on fire right now. And on the topic of class balance, that was another common complaint or criticism or critique from players. Many people were agreeing that the Barbarian felt weaker than the Rogue and the Sorcerer. Now, I know there are a couple of you who are saying, y'all are crazy, Barb is super strong, but the majority of the feedback was that the Barb felt weaker than the Rogue and the Sorceress until the Barb reached higher level within the beta, something around level 18.
Yeah, and the Barb was weaker. It was slower, it was weaker, and quite frankly, I don't want to wait till I'm level fucking 40 or 60 to have a good Barbarian class. And it was the same thing with the Druid, to be honest. The Druid was slow as hell and clunky. So I feel like definitely that's something they need to fix.
Funny. And Ferguson basically said that, yes, this is true and it's by design. He said, quote, "There's a lot of balance there, but the trick around balance is that it's a balance over time, not a balance of the moment. Not all classes at level 5 should have the same power. Due to the enchantment specialization, sorcerers will have the most skills of any class because with barbarians having 4 weapons, they will have the most legendary slots of any class. When you take that across all of them, there will be different points in time where a barbarian is in some ways a little underpowered compared to some of the other classes in, say, the first 10 to 20 levels.
Well, that's okay, cool. I don't give a fuck. I still don't want to play a barbarian and not have fun and for it to be complete dog shit until I hit level 20 and up. I don't give a fuck if it has an extra weapon slot. That's not fun.
But when you get to level 30 to 40 and legendaries are falling a lot, barbarians can be super strong. Then there are things
it's not fun.
The skill gap, which I think is built into it. I think the agility and mobility of a rogue is harder to play than a necromancer that has 12 skeletons fighting on their side that they can just send out and fight. So again, that was my experience. The barb really started to pick up around level 18 to 20. And after we got a bunch of skill synergizing legendaries. That said, I'm not sure I agree with the design decision to balance things this way. If 2 new players party up, one plays a barb, another one plays a sorcerer, then after a couple of hours, the barb player may feel like the barbarian just sucks, without understanding that the power levels equal out over time. It's not something that's obvious that the game tells you right away. Now,
but again, I shouldn't have to wait till I'm level fucking 20 on up as a barbarian for it to fucking get good. No, that's just stupid.
All the endgame balance.
And what if you want to play by yourself and not with a sorcerer, a necromancer, but you're a barbarian? That's gonna be stupid and it's annoying and nobody wants to do that.
This is all that ultimately matters for long-term players who will stick with the game. I'm not sure it's the best new player experience for them to feel like, oh, I picked the class that sucks. Now, throughout just the early access beta, over 1 million players reached level 20. Now that's players, not characters. While it wasn't super difficult to reach level 20, I'm sure not everyone who tried the beta had the time to hit 20. Could take a few hours. So I can see easily 2 to 3 million players having participated in just the early access beta, which you had to pay for to get in, either by pre-ordering the game or buying a KFC
fucking double down, hell yeah, brother.
Sandwich. And I can't imagine the KFC people consisted of that large a percentage of the player base. I can only imagine how many millions will play now during this free weekend. And for those wondering, reaching level 20 on any character during either last weekend or this weekend's beta will reward you with the Wolf Puppy Backpack.
Oh, fuck, bro. I don't think I hit 20. I don't know if I'm going to get this or not. God damn it. I really want that puppy. I think I played to like 18 on the Druid. Fuck.
You'll only have it when the game fully releases, not during beta. I know a lot of folks keep asking, hey, how come I didn't get the backpack? You'll get it on release, you don't get it now. That is something that wasn't clear. Also, a PSA for folks playing the beta this weekend. You can leave a dungeon via a simple emote command. Hold E, then click exit dungeon. Or you can do it by just
that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
And clicking the exit dungeon icon.
Yeah, I was just using the mini map.
You don't need to run all the way back to the entrance of the dungeon. You just use the exit dungeon shortcut. Then, in an interview with Eurogamer, game director Joe Shelley commented on the feedback about dungeons being repetitive and including
absolutely are.
These are all things that I spoke about, by the way, in my
and backtracking's bullshit.
Here, if you haven't seen it, it's actually really nice that the devs have been coincidentally speaking on these topics. So specifically on backtracking, he said, quote, "We don't want players to be running through an empty dungeon. In cases where you're going to get a key and running back through an area, there should be enemies that are showing up to refresh that. It is a goal of ours that you're not running through an empty dungeon, basically ever. It can be okay for very short periods of time." Okay, now speaking on a personal
Oh god. So basically what I heard the other day was true. If you gotta backtrack through a dungeon and make your way back through, and you already killed the mobs, they're gonna their solution to fix this and make it not boring is respawning the mobs. Which, by the way, in a lot of these dungeons, you have to 100% kill the mobs to progress through the dungeon. Which I find fucking annoying. If there's a fucking bat or one little vampire I missed at the beginning of the dungeon, you're telling me I can't progress through the dungeon because that one little fucking asshole back there? So I have to go all the way fucking back and kill that fucking bat or vampire, whatever the fuck it is, just to progress through the dungeon. That's annoying as fuck. And now they're gonna respawn mobs on top of it.
level, backtracking is definitely made better by having monsters to fight, but I'm not the kind of person to full clear a dungeon to begin with. I already leave monsters alive in my wake. I'm picking and choosing what I'm going to fight and what I'm going to leave behind. I go for either high density or a high priority enemies. If
well,
I'm
good
able
luck,
to
because with the with the progression system dungeons, I'm pretty sure you have to 100% kill them.
The enemies without too much hindrance in order to get to the objective, I might do that. So I actually haven't really noticed that enemies were respawning behind me as I was backtracking. I just assumed they were the monsters that I left alive. So given the choice, sure, I would rather backtrack through a dungeon with monsters than a dungeon that's empty, but there's still just a sense of backtracking being a waste of time regardless.
Exactly.
For myself personally, I think it comes down to discovery. As long as I'm exploring new corridors, I feel like I'm making some kind of progress, but retracing my steps doesn't feel like progress, even if there's new monsters, because I'm not there to...
Well, the thing is, they're not even new monsters when they're respawning these mobs. It's the same fucking mobs where they initially spawned originally anyways. So it's not even new monsters, it's the same fucking mobs just respawning. And I totally agree, exploring like new parts of a dungeon and opening new corridors, yeah, that's rewarding. It feels rewarding because it feels like you're gonna find something eventually, like maybe a fucking higher piece of gear or, I don't know, something, some sort of reward.
Kill monsters. My objective isn't, generally, the dungeon objective isn't to kill monsters, it's bring key here, kill boss, that's why I'm there. Killing monsters don't help me complete the quest faster, in fact, they slow me down. But for whatever reason, the sense of exploring an uncharted path is enough for me to feel like I'm accomplishing something. Maybe because I don't know what treasures await beyond the fog of war in the next room. And
exactly.
I have to say that some of the dungeons that require you to go get 2 keys on opposite sides of the map and then bring them back to the middle, some of them actually have great designs that allow you to circle back to the main area.
And that's
by
fine.
exploring a new branch of the dungeon. So even though you're technically going back to an area you've already gone, you're doing it through a path that you haven't taken. And that's the kind of solution that I really like to see.
Yeah.
Map designs where you have this sort of circular design in it, not literally, but that is able to bring you through an alternate path such that you're still discovering new stuff along the way back to a place you've already
100%.
been. But again, that's
100%,
just me and
brother.
my psychology. I don't know if most people share these feelings, so I encourage you folks to sound off in the comments. I know I saw some comments of people saying, well, backtracking is what, D2 was all about. You'd be in those big dungeons.
But this isn't D2. We're no longer in D2. We're in D4. We need to progress as a game. We need to do better than we were. Let's make it better.
The giant, Mephisto, the Durance of hate on Hell was enormous, and there was so much backtracking. Granted, I remember the game being about getting Enigma in order to skip past all that as fast as possible, because no one actually liked it, but again, that's me and my psychology. Sound off, what do you think would improve backtracking, if it's something that even needs to be improved, or is that, and should that be, a part of the game? I'd like to see your comments. Then addressing another topic of criticism that the dungeons were repetitive, Shelley said, quote, "When you think about dungeons overall, and there are well over 100 dungeons in the game,
Damn.
and in the beta, of course, you're only seeing the dungeons that exist in the Fractured Peaks, which is about 20% of the overworld. One of the design decisions we made is we wanted the dungeons, an individual dungeon, to have certain properties about it that were consistent and tied to that dungeon and that place in the world. So that when you go into a dungeon, it's not just drawing out of a raffle all the elements, there are some things that are consistent." And so this was the suspicion that I had, that the dungeons in the Fractured Peaks may be similar to each other, but dungeons in other regions, the other 80% of the game, may be different. When the game launches, we won't be restricted to the Fractured Peaks. The story is non-linear. You can move along from region to region. You don't have to complete the Fractured Peaks first. So I really wonder, is it just feeling repetitive? Because, yeah, sure, it'll be repetitive to do the Den of Evil and the Cave in Act 1 of D2 over and over. They have the same tile set, same randomized or pseudo-random dungeon layouts. But when you factor those in with all the other dungeons and all the other acts in the game, now it no longer feels repetitive.
I think what I would like to see moving forward with the dungeons, and this probably won't happen, but I feel like it might be a pretty good idea. I would like to see, so you know how we love to farm the same dungeons over and over again to try to get a better piece of gear at the end, right? I would like to see, like, if you go into the same dungeon, it randomizes and changes every single time, but keeping the boss obviously still at the end of the dungeon. So it's different every single time you go into the same dungeon to farm. I would love to see that. And I think they can do that, honestly. I think you just need random some sort of random generator for dungeons. But yeah, I feel like that would be a great idea.
The piece of feedback I had was that I felt drop rates were too high in the beta. And Rod confirmed on Twitter that drop rates are artificially inflated for the beta in order to better test all the different legendary combinations in the small testing window that we have. So that's perfect. That's great to hear. I did feel drop rates were too high. I suspected that was because of beta. We have confirmation. That is reassuring. We also got an update on a feature that was previously teased in an old dev update. Remember how spell effects were promised to look more impressive as they went up in level? Well, Twitter user Remos321 asked the devs if spell intensity was still a thing in Diablo 4. And Associate Art Director on Visual Effects Daniel Briggs, as in Briggs Wrath Ring from Diablo 3, confirmed that they are. Skill intensity is based on your skill points and legendary affixes for that skill. The total rank that a skill can get to includes +5 points from that skill tree, +6 from gear affixes that give a level to a specific skill, +3 from gear affixes that give a level to a skill category, since all skills are grouped into categories like core skills, for instance, and then +4 from extremely rare redacted. Maybe unique items, which apparently only start dropping around level 50. And he finished by saying that modifying the size of a skill can come from many different sources. Skill points for certain skills, legendary items, legendary paragon nodes, or glyphs. Then in
Now, I can't speak much on that because I really don't know anything about this portion.
other Diablo 4 news, it seems that the game was causing problems for some people with specific video cards. Specifically the 3080 Ti and generally cards from Gigabyte. People were getting black screens after which their computer would hard lock, restart, and it seems specific cutscenes in D4 were triggering this crash. Now, not only would this make your computer freeze and restart, some users were reporting that this actually bricked their video cards entirely, with some adding that they could smell smoke.
Oh shit, brother. Don't run this fucking game if you got a 3080 Ti in your computer. I can blow your shit up.
Now, this week, NVIDIA released new game-ready drivers specifically for Diablo 4. Hopefully that resolved the issue, but I couldn't confirm this before recording this video, so if you're on a 3080 Ti, I'd suggest looking more into this before trying to run the beta, just in case. Just confirm that the issue is resolved. That's a big chunk of money to lose. And lastly, in Diablo 4 news, Blizzard released a short trailer for a giveaway they held. It's too late to
That a
enter now,
giveaway?
but it was for a chance to win services from Thumbtack, which would basically have people come over and take care of your chores so that you can play the game during the weekend.
Have people do your chores while you play the game. Hey, yeah, can you pick up those pop cans and sweep the house for me? I gotta play Diablo. Thanks.
A funny promotion with a great trailer that was actually reminiscent, intentionally or not, of a great TV spot for Diablo 2 back in the day. Here's the little D4 teaser trailer.
Oh shit, they actually got a trailer?
Diablo 4 open beta is here. Spend the weekend battling evil, and let us fulfill your mortal duties while you play. Comment the tasks you'll shun with hashtag Diablo for the weekend for the chance to win.
Now compare that to the Diablo 2 TV spot and tell me there aren't similarities here.
At first, I didn't know what to think. Maybe they just celebrated Halloween.
Oh, this is from Diablo 2.
Maybe every day. I began looking for answers. But soon I couldn't get the images I'd seen out of my head. And it was clear that their world was becoming mine.
Bad dream, hun?
Diablo 2. Play it now on PC and Macintosh. Rated M for mature.
That TV spot was legendary. Then I'll finish off the Diablo section of today's news with this handy graphic for those of you who are playing the beta this weekend. This shows the location of every altar of Lilith. These are hidden collectibles. Each one will increase your character's power a tiny bit in a different way, but a lot of them are very hard to find if you're not actually looking for them. So if you do want to go collect them all, just come here, pause video, open up your map, and head on to these locations.
Right.
All right, on to non-Diablo.
Right, yeah, classic commercial. That was overall a pretty good video. I'm glad the devs actually addressed some of the things that we were discussing about, like the Barbarian and the Druid class. However, I still don't agree with what the fuck they were talking about with it. Oh, well, it's not going to be the same until you hit level 30 or 40 or 60. Bro, I don't want to play a Barb and fucking not have fun with it until I hit level fucking 40, okay? That's stupid. And the dungeons, yeah, they need more randomizing with the dungeons as well. Hey guys, if you like the video, make sure you head over to the page, hit that like button, scroll over, smash that subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get notified for future video drops, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.